Okay, it's 1 o'clock. We're going to get the meeting getting ready to go here. I just wanted to wish everyone a happy new year. Welcome to staff. Welcome to all of council. We're all here. And to anyone that may be listening in or viewing us through YouTube, welcome to our council meeting of January the 12th, 2021. So I'll call the meeting to order at this time. And I will also ask for a moment of silent reflection so that we may reflect on our duties of today as councillors. Thank you. Thank you. Ask anyone at this time if they have any declaration of pecuniary interests. Lori, I see your hand. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I'll be declaring C4, and our clerk already has the required paperwork.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no hands. I'm looking for an approval of the agenda then, and the recommendation is that the Township of Asphodel-Norwood Council, the meetings for December the, approval of the agenda for today, please. That's what I'm looking for. Councillor Walsh and Councillor Archer. All in favor? Perfect, thank you. Approval of the minutes then for the council meetings of December the 15th, and also we'll take in the public meeting of the 15th. So recommendation that we be adopted as presented then, please. Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor Archer. All in favor? That's carried unanimous, thank you. Is there any business arising from those minutes? Okay, seeing none, thank you. The consent agenda then. Looking for a motion then to receive for information C1, C2, C3, and the Asphodel-Norwood Police Services Board meeting then. Councillor War and Deputy Mayor Burt. Is there any discussion on this? Okay, seeing no hands, all in favor? That's carried unanimous, thank you. There's no delegations or presentations today. And then we're on to staff and committee reports. So we'll give, oh, there's Ed there. Ed, welcome. So our first committee report then would be R1. So this is Ed Whitmore, our Chief Building Official Planning Coordinator. And this is regarding our consent B76-20/English. Ed, floor is yours, please.
Okay, thank you. So I'm having a little bit of difficulty with the speaker on my laptop. It seems to be making a noise. I don't know if you can hear it at your end.
No, we're good, Ed.
Good. Okay, perfect. Because it's like making a beeping noise here. But anyways, that's good. So consent B76-20 is submitted from Mr. English. This is a very simple lot addition severance. It's a technical severance. The small portion of land is going to be joined to the neighboring site. The reason being, you see, it's a small sliver of land, and the reason being is that it just makes better sense for the guy turning around his truck in his driveway. Then he doesn't have to back over and cross the property line. So this little sliver of land will help him, you know, have his own little site there. So the property that is being severed is zoned rural residential, and it's being added to a rural farm. So the property is going to have to undergo a zoning bylaw amendment later on once this is passed. So it's going to have to be rezoned from rural residential to rural in order to fit in with the rural property. Also later we'll add a merger agreement will come to council, and I forgot to tick that box off on the municipal appraisal form, but I'll correct that before I send it off to the county of Peterborough. So that our main focus will be a rezoning of the severed parcel of land to the satisfaction of the municipality, and then a merger agreement to be entered into between the parties and adjoined to the neighboring property, to the benefiting property. And that's it. That's the whole
Okay, thanks, Ed.
severance.
So any questions from council on this one?
Pretty straightforward.
All right,
No.
seeing no hands, then, so we'll be looking for a motion then to receive and direct staff to provide the form to the county land division then. Motion by Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councillor Archer. All in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Thank you. Okay, second then, Ed, would be our number 2, and this would be the consent B77-20/English. Please.
Yes, so this one, it's the same properties involved. And so at the very back of the property, since this one owner, Mr. English, he's giving a piece of land over to the other lot. He's getting a little piece in return at the rear of his property, just to make things a little bit nicer for him to follow a fence line that's already there. And so again, the property that's being severed, it's zoned rural this time, and it's being added to a rural residential lot. And so the severed parcel is going to have to undergo a zoning bylaw amendment to change it from rural to rural residential. And it'll also have to come with a merger agreement later on. So those will be the 2 township conditions that we have, that we will tick off on our municipal appraisal form and send that back to the county of Peterborough as our comments. So it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, Ed. Yep, it was. Any questions or concerns from council at this time then? All right, seeing no hands then, so we're looking for the same motion basically to receive and direct staff to provide the form to County Land Division then, please. Councillor War and Councillor Walsh, all in favor? And that's carried unanimous. Thank you. All right, thanks, Ed. You're off the hook.
All right, thank you.
Don't forget to mute your computer, sir.
Yes, I will.
All right, R4 then. So we'll be asking Candace White, our CAO Clerk Treasurer, regarding the final 2021 municipal operating and capital budget presentation.
Mayor, I think we'll start with R3.
Oh,
if you
I'm
don't
sorry.
mind.
Nope, that would be better. Yep. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
No, that's okay. That's no problem at all.
Amended preliminary development agreement with 1087086 Ontario Limited. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mayor. So this is a follow-up to our last council meeting. Council directed staff to amend the preliminary development agreement and to prepare the correlating bylaw to enter into an agreement with the developer 1087086 Ontario Limited, also known as BGS Homes, for the Wellington Street subdivision. This is based on the advice and recommendations that came from the consulting engineer on the file. And the recommendation was obviously to increase the securities that were required due to the scope of work that is required to determine engineering requirements such as the transport pathway in the township wellhead protection area. So township staff has amended the agreement, has prepared the correlating bylaw for township council's consideration, and that's what's before you today.
Great. I don't see any hands raised for questions, council. Seeing no hands, then I'm going to ask for a motion then to accept the report for information and have the mayor and clerk enter into an amended preliminary development agreement with 1087086 Ontario Limited. Looking for that motion. Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor War. All in favor? That's carried unanimous. Thank you. Okay, R4 then. This time we're going to be talking with Candace, the final 2021 municipal operating and capital budget presentation. Candace, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I am just going to share my screen.
There it goes.
It's a little
Yep.
delayed, sorry.
That's okay. Internet's a problem all over the place. Did you not hear the interview this morning?
So can you guys see my screen? Fine,
can.
everyone's okay? Yes, okay. Okay, wonderful. So welcome to the 2021 operating and capital budget, the public meeting scheduled for January 12th, 2021. Just to do a quick recap, this is the process that brought us here today. We started with draft departmental budgets in September of last year into October and November. Again, started and continued with the small bite approach with delivering certain departments to council and having budget meetings and discussions at each council meeting leading up to the first reading of the full draft at our meeting in December, at which time council gave their feedback, and that was incorporated into the public and final draft that is in front of you today, and directed staff to then advertise and prepare for the public meeting, which is what we are going to move forward with today. Budget pressures for 2021. Obviously, the biggest and the one that's in the most forefront of our minds is the pandemic and the impact that that's going to have on revenues. That being said, the provincial government has, I have signed for the second release of Safe Restart funds for an additional $24,000 to the province. So between the two intakes from that program, the overall impact to the township at this point in time is manageable. The 2021 budget does propose to fully fund all of our short-term capital plans. As council is aware, we have multiple capital plans: sidewalk, park, surface treatment, asphalt, guardrails. These capital plans keep us in line to ensure that our infrastructure is replaced in an efficient and feasible manner, and has been a successful tool. And you will see additional ones coming forward in 2021. We do address the equipment replacement. We have a fairly aggressive reserve allocation plan, which continues in 2021 to ensure that the estimated useful life that is provided in our asset management plan is followed for equipment, and the funds, we are prepared for replacement of large pieces of equipment when they do begin to show signs of failure, so it isn't a big hit in one tax year. We do see a slight reduction on the OMPF, but nothing that causes any too great concern. The 5-year mandated market salary review will be coming to council in Q1. Replacement of large capital assets and the town hall ramp, as well as the transfer station bridge, are two of the larger assets that are going to see replacement in 2021, as well as no phase-in assessment for 2021. So MPAC has released that they will not be starting another 4-year phase-in period in 2021. An assessment for all properties will remain at the 2020 assessment value. Just to give an overarching highlight of the budget before we get into the departmental breakdowns, you are going to see a proposed tax rate increase of 0.68%, so just above 0.5%. Proposed tax rate increase, so the average home that has an assessment of $217,174, which is the average residential assessment in the township for 2021, will see an increase of 60 cents. So pretty minimal across the board, difference of $7.22 for the annual year. It's important to note, however, the township does collect, obviously, all of the tax revenues for the upper tier, as well as the education for the school boards, but this does not include any of the impact from those two sectors. That will be in addition to the 0.68%. Probably my favorite slide in today's presentation. Where do your tax dollars go? This is pretty standard across the board. For years, we do see maybe 1 or 2% shift, but not anything above that. This year, you're saying 58% of your tax bill remain within the township. The remaining percentages, so 13%, goes to the school boards. That is 4 school boards, and 29% goes to Peterborough County. Those are remitted to those stakeholders 4 times a year. So each quarter, we supply payment to Peterborough County, each of the 4 school boards. Weighted assessment, this is a slide that breaks down what we're seeing in regards to any in-year changes that are proposed and any weighted assessment changes for 2021. 2021, just to let council know, that is all the changes that we're going to see. As I mentioned on the impact slide, we're not going to see any phase-in assessment, which is the 4-year phase-in that residents receive that notice that MPAC phases in an increase or decrease in assessment base. We will see in-year changes. So in-year changes are, I guess you could say, unplanned changes. So the growth, so some of the houses, whatever houses MPAC is going to be able to get online for us in 2021, or if a resident builds a garage or renovates their house or takes out a building permit, those are considered in-year changes, and they will be accounted for in 2021, whatever MPAC is able to bring online. We can see we're seeing a reduction in farmland weighted assessment as well as commercial. You'll see a huge increase in new commercial there, pretty large percentage increase there. That won't remain. New commercial is a category that it doesn't sustain because it'll bump then over to commercial, and then the new commercial will take on the new stuff, and it kind of rotates through. Residential, we're seeing an increase of 3.29% that happened in 2020 that'll carry over in weighted assessment for 2021 for an overall net impact change of about 2.98% in weighted assessment. Before I get into any of the department by department breakdown, does council have any questions at all?
Council, I can't see everyone at this time, so if you have any questions or concerns, just speak up, please.
Through you, Mayor, if I can, Candace, do we have any, and possibly Deputy Mayor Laurie and Roger, do we have any insight county when they will have their final tax rate confirmed?
Last I heard, and Mayor and Deputy Mayor, you can confirm with me, I think it's sitting at about 2.25%, and I think they're looking to adopt in February.
Yes.
And education tax, Candace, do you have any idea?
Nothing yet.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Okay, Candace, hearing no one else, carry on, please.
Okay, so department by department breakdown, you're going to see what you see in front of you is the council and library department. This is the department where you do see the change from the draft budget, because there was the decision made by council to keep the 2020 library contribution the same for 2021. So there is a slight reduction in the tax requirement that was proposed in the draft budget. Overall, looking for a tax requirement increase of approximately $9,700. This does include in this the transfer to reserves for elections. It's hard to believe, but next year is an election year, so we do allocate $7,000 each year to be able to fund that process. Again, you're going to see this is a theme throughout all the departments, a 17% increase in insurance, and then the phase-in of council remuneration. Administration, you're seeing approximately a tax increase requirement of $29,500. Again, a big driver of that is a 17% increase in liability insurance, the market salary review, asset management, big projects, 2 big projects coming up in 2021. The township's asset management plan, last update that I completed was in 2016. It's a 5-year mandatory renewal process. So in 2021, we have to do an update to our asset management plan. And at the same time, there has been some changes to obviously an adoption of the OREG 588, which is the level of service and the life cycle management strategies. Township staff has been working with Watson and Associates, the consulting company, on that since last year, and that is ongoing, and we're on track to be able to have those adopted within the time frame laid out in the OREG. We're going to be upgrading our server just due to its age and ability, its time. Obviously, everybody working from home and everybody saving more documents. And as we're growing and taking all of our property files and having that digitalization project, we need increased capacity in the server as well. So the time has come to see an upgrade there. Postage increase, obviously more households. means we're mailing out more, slight increase there. We are budgeting for a revenue reduction. Obviously, marriage licenses, lottery licenses, people coming into the office for certain Commissioner of Oath services, photocopying services, fax services, across the board, a lot of that stuff. We are seeing a slight reduction, so that has been budgeted this year. Municipal modernization fund, that is the line by line budget review that is ongoing. It's an in and an out, fully funded by the province, no tax base impact at all. And COVID-19 Safe Restart Funds Phase 2 initiative. So the second round, the 24,000, has been included in this budget and has been budgeted out as a COVID-19 Safe Restart initiative. So that'll be something that we can look at how we're going to allocate those funds and some potential, maybe some impact back to some grants to assist maybe our business communities with website development, social media type projects. But that'll come back to council more in 2021, hopefully in the first quarter. Facilities, we're seeing a reduction of approximately $33,000. Municipal facilities represent the largest infrastructure deficit in the township's asset management plan of approximately $637,000 annual. That is what our 2016 plan shows. I don't foresee this changing a whole lot for 2021. So I just want to give council a heads up because that conversation is coming. That although that is real, that is the reality of the situation, it isn't realistic, if that makes sense. So that's actually what it would cost for us to put away each year in order to replace all of our facilities. But it isn't even in our long-term plans to be replacing all of the municipal facilities. So the only way that a large number of municipal facilities would be replaced in a short period of time would obviously be natural disaster or something along that line. So the only facility that has even been mentioned for replacement would be the Norwood Fire Hall. So obviously the $637,000 annual deficit is not something that we would try to fund. At the town hall, we're seeing the ramp replacement, the flagpole replacement. You're going to see once the ramp is replaced out front, as council knows, that tender's been awarded and that project has to be completed by July 1, I believe. Once that is done, then you're going to see the new flagpole. The flagpole that's there causes a lot of grief in order to keep a decent style flag, Canadian flag up there and going at all times. It is in poor condition and is in need of replacement as well. We will be doing a garden for our staff member that we lost, Gail Sawyers, who will be doing Gail's garden, as well as the furnace replacement. So the front of the town hall is going to see a bit of a facelift. The medical center, the generator, this is a carryover from 2020. We didn't have enough in the budget once it went to tender, so we're finishing off that, funding it in 2021. Again, the Peterborough County, this does not include their portion of the building. They have their own for the ambulance bay. Flooring in the washrooms needs to be upgraded in the doctor's end of the building. The red funding outdoor courtyard project at Norwood Library is going to move forward. I'm assuming council is aware that the tree came down. I sent out that email. It came down without any issues. So that's the first step. And that'll be as soon as Mother Nature allows and the weather cooperates, it'll be full steam ahead with that project and hopes to have it fully completed by the end of August. And also it includes ICIP COVID-19 resilience infrastructure stream. That application has gone in for the $100,000 renovation to the municipal office that will be fully funded by the provincial government. Fire, we're seeing a reduction of approximately just under $2,000 in tax requirement. Although it is a reduction, we are still funding the reserve for future replacement of Pumper 2 in Westwood, which is an $80,000 allocation. We are still seeing that increase in dispatch contract costs that was negotiated a couple of years ago with the city of Peterborough. That is ongoing for the term of the contract. 17% increase in liability insurance, and then the final year in unfunded capital. So the fire department, it's unfunded portion that sits on the financial statements. This is the last little bit of that plan in 2021, so that is great news. And then ongoing regular replacement of the gear, et cetera, for the fire department. So nothing too major there. Police and Conservation Authority, the same, no significant budgetary impacts. We did just enter into a new contract with the OPP for 4 years No major financial impact to speak of. $550 increase in tax requirement, pretty insignificant at this point. Bylaw and animal control, you're seeing a reduction there of approximately $3,100. This is due to the realignment of staff wages to the building department. Nothing significant to report here as well. No significant budgetary impacts are proposed. Building department, as you can see, net zero impact to the township. The building department is not funded by the tax base. It is funded by its own revenues. It is completely 100% self-funded, and that is expected to continue in 2021 and has been the case for the last, I'm going to say 6 years for sure. And we have built a reserve. So any surplus at the end of the year goes into a reserve, and then we pull from that reserve in future years if for whatever reason there is a reduction in revenues to the point where it can't cover the expenses of that department. That reserve is there to ensure that it continues to be self-funded. Transportation, we're seeing a $12,000 tax requirement increase, which is pretty insignificant considering the projects that are slated to be completed in 2021. Replacement of the transfer station bridge. This is going to be split. You will see in the environmental budget is going to be split between the two departments, transportation and environmental. We have split that up. The surface treatment program, as previously reported to council, we are continuing to fund all of those 5-year projects. So you're going to see single lift on the boundary roads with OSM and Duro-Dummer. We have reached out to speak to those municipalities to ensure that they are also funding their portion in 2021. And we will be prepping the third line for surfacing in 2022 as we prep in 1 year and treat the second. Sidewalks, Elm Street and Baker Street and Highway number 7 patches. Most of that is a transfer over from 2020 to continue on with our sidewalk plan. Same with Queen Street, carry over from 2020 due to COVID. So it is being done in 2021. Sand Road Bridge is getting guardrails, which is a great news story. And of course, our transfer to reserve programs to fund future equipment replacements, backhoe, obviously grader being the biggest one, and we've been saving for a couple of years for that as well. The purchase of the excavator is going to happen in 2021. I know the manager of public works has been working consistently on that tender as it's pretty involved, and we'll be releasing it shortly here after the adoption of the budget to ensure that we hopefully receive it during the same budget year. The $400,000 obviously has been stayed for and planned for the last few years. So the full impact is not being realized in this year, obviously, with a $12,000 increase only for this year. And the big news story will be the Centerline Road reconstruction from the ICIP funding from the provincial and federal governments. The portion that needs to be funded by the township is approximately 6% of that, so in and around $100,000, just over, and that has been included in the budget. It will be transferred out of reserves, and that project is on course. I will give a further update on that project in my CAO list. Just want to do a break here, Mayor, and see if there's any questions, since I can't see everyone, and I don't think you can either, just to see if there's any questions or comments or concerns.
I just have a question. It's Lori. When you spoke about the asset management plan and being compliant and redoing that, is there any grant funding available to do that work, or has there been in the past, or is there now? Just a quick question.
Yes, so we was funded, the one we did in 2016, plus we did an update of our assets, looking at condition rating and all that. We received funding through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, and they are releasing asset management. We will be applying for that project. Not sure whether we'll be successful or not, because we've been successful for 2 previous rounds. All asset management work, like the large projects, the plans, as well as any updates, we have always had funding. We've never ever fully funded it ourselves from a municipal standpoint since 2016. So we will be reaching out again due to that track record. Don't want to assume we'll be successful again, but the hopes are that we will be. But yes, there is money out, MAMP as well as FCM.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? I can't see Paula there.
Yes, I have a question, please, through you, Mayor.
Go ahead.
So you sparked just a question when you said about a new server. And I was just wondering if there's any funding available for management of, and retention of township papers and records. Like when you're talking about new server and all, everything in a digital platform, is there any funding so that that is saved? And if so, how long do you have to retain different records? Is there different timelines for different records that you have to keep for the township?
Yes, so two-part question. So the first part of your question in regards to the grant, I'm unaware of any grant funding that's out right now that would fund digitalization of records, unless you could prove a case maybe for efficiency under the second round of the efficiency funding. But I would have to read the criteria. So I don't want to say 100% yes or no until I looked into those funding programs and to make sure to see if there's eligibility. Right off the top of my head, I haven't seen anything as of late in regards to that, but I will keep my eye out for something along that line. The second part of your question, yes, there is a retention bylaw that is adopted by council. It is slated to be updated in 2021. It is one of the big policies and bylaws that will be updated, and it details what records we keep forever, what records are 7 years, what are 1 year, which we don't retain at all. And obviously there's a system called TomRIMS, which is a system that we don't participate in that, but we will be looking into that. It's basically a document management system. So we will be looking into it to see if it's time to adopt that process, but our bylaw tends to follow it pretty close, if not exactly anyway.
Okay.
Is that fair? Does that answer?
Yeah, no, I know it was a little bit off a budget question, but when I was to mark the comment, if there was any funding towards that.
Yeah, I'm just not aware right off the top of my head, but I have made a note and I will go back and research and see if there's anything that may potentially, or just reach out to our advisor at the province and ask if he knows of anything that may be coming down the pipe in the future.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So environmental services, you're seeing obviously a larger impact in this department than we've traditionally seen in the past. It's approximately $60,000 tax requirement increase, and there's only one reason, and that is replacement of the transfer station bridge. We have a reallocation of public works labor as well, just realigning to ensure that the time that's being spent at each facility is being allocated in the correct department, just for tracking of pattern purposes. We have in the budget to take a look at organics approval in the township's ECA, our licensing documents, to take a look at that and see what will come forward as a recommendation from that process, as well as we're seeing an increase in revenues. I don't know if council picked up on it in the spreadsheet in the department by department breakdown, but even though we had the closure and even though we had limited services, obviously the revenues are not seeing a reduction, and that is because the full growth impact wasn't budgeted in 2020 budget. So that's why you're seeing that. Recreation, $11,000 tax requirement increase. A lot of it is the reduction of revenues. It's just uncertainty of the pandemic impact, that the pandemic impacts this department greater than any department in the township, obviously due to the community center. Replacement of the propane resurfacer, better known as the Zamboni, of $96,000. This was included in the 2020 budget. We've been saving for this since for 10 years. So in this budget, you'll see that it's actually being purchased. It's been ordered, just has not been received. We have chosen the color, and which was the last step for that piece of equipment. So I suspect we will be seeing it. I'm not sure if it'll be before this season, but it'll definitely be received and in service for the next season. You're going to see the $25,000 allocation for future ice plant costs. This has been ongoing for the last few years. As we know, the ice plant continues to not get any younger like the rest of us, so we need to save and put some money aside for its replacement when that time comes, or just even certain components of it that we don't see any huge unexpected costs that we can't cover. The onboarding of the community program coordinator that has started as of last week. 1 week on the job, it seems to be going well, and I will be giving an update to council outside of the budget presentation. Recreational programming support, obviously funds to support that position. Dehumidifier replacement, again, just due to age. The efficiency funding received from the province is going to fund that, so there's no tax base impact to that, as well as a 17% increase in liability insurance. Parks, we're seeing approximately $6,700 tax requirement increase. I'm not going to go down through and read all of that. It is just following along suit with the 5-year parks plan. We take a lot of pride in our parks as a township. We are well known for our parks, and we continue to ensure that we add to those parks each year, as well as maintain what we have to ensure that they are sustainable and enjoyed by all. Probably the most exciting park announcement will be when we add the new pieces to the community center park, and the kit is chosen by the public. So you will see that release of that survey and I guess promotional material being released to the public very, very shortly, to ensure that trying to get it in for the 2021 park season. Planning and economic development, biggest impact here is the increase in legal expenses as the LPAT case continues for the Wellington Street proposed development. Update to development charges bylaw to capture provincial regulation changes, which we chatted about. Entrance sign replacement program, phase 1 of that is going to move forward in 2021. Hopefully it's just one phase. So that was the end of the departments. Is there any questions before we move on?
Council, speak up if you have any questions or concerns.
No.
Okay, go ahead,
Okay, so
Candace.
thank you, Mayor. So what you're going to see here is department comparison. This is a breakdown for council to see the department allocations for the municipal operating and capital budgets. As you can see, roads and police take up basically 50% of our budget. So anything outside roads and policing are broken down basically on the top half of the pie chart there. So if you follow it through, you can just see by color coding each department and its tax allocation. Again, fairly consistent from year to year to year. Capital versus operating, again, very consistent, only moves a percentage or two throughout the years. 86% is operating, 14% is capital. So what this basically is stating is 86% are really fixed costs unless we were to reduce our level of service, close a facility, et cetera. You're not going to see a lot of huge impact on the operating. And then the capital, it is obviously where you see the large impact in the municipality. That is the large capital projects, large capital purchases, which we've been obviously very successful, as you can see throughout the previous part of the presentation, with provincial and federal funding. So the township is rarely ever on its own for a large part of those capital expenditures. Reserves, we have had a fairly aggressive reserve program for the last few years in order to be in a position to replace a lot of our large capital assets as well as complete large capital infrastructure projects. And as you can see, that is coming to fruition. We're starting to see the fruits of our labor, so to speak. So you can see that we're going to have an estimated reserve balance from the 2020 budget to be here, and then you're at 4.6 million, and then we're seeing about 4 million in the end of 2021. Obviously, most of that, by the time you take the purchase of the excavator out of 400,000, you take the purchase of the ice resurfacer for the community center is almost 100,000. There's $500,000 of it that we've been planning for years that are going to get pulled out of that reserve balance. So that's the majority of it, rather than a few tweaks here or there, some other balances, but those are the major impacts to it. Please note that it does not include any surplus allocation for 2020 or 2021, because that would obviously be allocated into the reserves and added to that $4.6 million. And that's it from my chair, Mayor. I'll take any further comments or questions.
Sure. Do you want to share the screen again with all of us, or?
You want me to stop sharing? Yes.
Great, thank you. Any questions, council, concerning what's happened here, what we've been discussing?
No, all looks good.
I just have a question, Candace, then, just so the public is aware, what efforts were made that they would be aware that we were having this meeting today about the budget talks? there was mail outs and things like that, I take it?
Yes, so we followed the same process as we did any other year. So the draft public meeting was advertised, website, community press, the exact same happened for the public meeting today. It went out in the water and sanitary bills for Trent View Estates and Norwood. There was an insert in the billing in each envelope to every resident stating that today's meeting was occurring and happening. Again, posted on community boards, community press, website.
Yep, that's great. Okay, thank you very much for that. All right, council, then no questions, no hands raised here at this time. So then we're looking for a motion then to accept and adopt the final 2021 municipal operating and capital budget. Then please. Councillor Archer, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favor? That's carried unanimous. Thank you. That was very good. Our hats off to the staff for making things work, and to our treasurer for getting the facts and figures for us. That was a very good job. All right, R5 then, Candace, would be the final 2021 Norwood Water, Norwood Sewer, and Trent View Estates water budget presentations, please.
Yes, I'm just going to. Hope technology.
Oh yeah, it just made it easier when you shared the screen with all of us that we didn't have to call a recorded vote. That was all. So I'd rather have a wait a minute for the screen to share again than have to go through the recorded vote. So
there we go.
Okay. Everyone see my screen?
yes, and the floor is yours.
Wonderful. Okay, so this is the 2021 budget presentation for the rates for the Norwood Water and Norwood Wastewater systems. We're going to start with Norwood Water. And this is just a brief overview of the system, just to advise council and those members of the public that may be listening. Our drinking water system does consist of 4 wells, a treatment facility, a disinfection system, a chemical feed system for corrosion control, standby power, a standpipe and distribution piping that supplies water to the village. The groundwater communal well water supplies a total design capacity. So our permit to take water is 1,965 cubic meters a day, and approximately 600 to 640 cubic meters per day is going out the door right now. Water meters, traditionally we have been billing since water meters, we started billing under this structure in 2014, has been a 75% fixed and 25% variable cost sharing split in the rate structure that is ongoing for 2021. There are currently 900 water meters installed in the village, which is approximately an increase of about 60 meters. As you can guess, that is because of growth in the new subdivision. 0% reduction in consumption is being used to determine the 2021 budget. As I mentioned during the draft presentation, that line is only in there because we used to take budget a reduction in consumption when the water meters first went in, because people were conserving and changing their habits to ensure that the revenues were able to match the expenses going out the door, because most of our expenses are fixed, obviously. Unfunded capital projects, these have been on the books for many, many years. Council in 2016, as part of that budgetary process, adopted a financing plan based on the recommendation of myself and the auditors. So we do allocate $50,002.81 annually, interest-free, to fund these capital projects. And after 2021's contribution, the remaining balance will be approximately $700,000. So you can see we are making strides. It is a 20-year process, but we're getting there 1 year at a time. The unfunded capital projects are slated in this chart below. You can see the Ridge Street, King Street, water meter upgrades in 2012. That was a water meter project, that the installation of all the meters, but they didn't switch to that billing structure until 2014. Corrosion control upgrades in 2011, and Highway 7 water main replacement in 2008. It'll start, so the 2007 Ridge Street waterwork has been funded. The King Street waterwork funded for 2009 has been funded. And so we just kind of are going down the list, and you'll start to see these be removed from the financial statements under the unfunded capital section. Those projects will be removed, which is a good news story. 2021 budget for Norwood Water, you see the difference being in revenue about $5,000, operating expenditures difference of about $5,900, in capital but a difference of about $800. So pretty status quo from 2020 to 2021 in the grand scheme of things. And of course, we're proposing a budget that does not impact the tax revenues at all. It is a user pay system and continues to be such, and it is fully self-funded. Areas of significant impact, you see the water meter warranty replacement program, a $20,000 transfer to reserve, master meter software laptop upgrade, well inspection and maintenance, the unfunded capital project, water main replacement on Victoria Street, the easement. This is due to the sanitary main that's going to be replaced there. When that sections of property and street are being excavated, we are taking the opportunity while the street is already under construction to replace the water main as well, so that we're not obviously ripping up a new street when it doesn't need to be ripped up, and all infrastructure underneath will be new. And obviously some impact will be to the increase in the number of users we're seeing in the system. Norwood Water Capital, this is a breakdown of the approximately $250,000 that is expected to be spent in 2021 in Norwood Water and the various projects. I'm not going to go through and read all of them. If council has any questions, by all means, I'll take them, but it is the exact same that they see in draft and has been proposed previously. It's all the way from transfer to reserves right up to capital replacements and the unfunded project.
Any questions, council? Okay.
Okay, rates for Norwood Water. What you're going to see is a reduction in the variable rate of 9 cents per cubic meter and a reduction in the monthly fixed rate of $1.69 per month. The reserves for Norwood Water, you're going to see an increase in the transfer to reserves with a projected balance at the end of it of $484,000, which is, we've been working diligently to create this reserve for larger infrastructure replacement projects that will be coming down the pipe. Oops, wrong way. 2021 average monthly difference in Norwood Water. So we've taken some average consumptions from 5 cubic meters all the way up to very large users at 100 cubic meters. And you can see what the impact of the proposed rate structure will have from $2, a reduction of $2.14. Again, this is monthly. So we do bi-monthly billing. So that amount will be doubled on the bill that they receive, but it is $2.14 per month, all the way up to $10.69 per month. Any questions on Norwood Water?
Thank you. Council, any questions at this time? You'll have to speak up. I can only see a couple of you, so.
No, good.
Okay, I had something, Candace, I wanted to mention. When you talked about the unfunded capital, the ones that have been paid off, it was like about the second or third screen, and we don't have to go there. But you mentioned about they might be taken off the list. Did you mean taking off so that we don't see them on the list anymore? Or are you just going to put them in a bracket and then show that they're basically paid off, but we don't owe on them anymore?
So I was speaking of the financial statements. So the auditors will not put them on the financial statements under the unfunded category anymore because they're not unfunded. They will continue to be on the township portion. So in my presentation, we'll put funded beside them, but they'll remain there until the full 700,000 that's remaining is funded. But on the financial statements prepared by the auditors, they'll no longer list those projects that are now funded because they're not unfunded anymore.
Yeah, thank you. I find that they're very important going into the future as to how the taxpayers' money's being spent on stuff like this, and having the $1 million in the hole when we first took over as council 6 years ago. That was a big surprise, and I think it's important that the taxpayers understand where their money's going, and we're trying to be smart about it by paying 50,000 of it off every year. So thanks for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions from council? Sorry I took the floor there, but so nobody's speaking up, so we can carry on if you'd like then, Candace, please.
Wonderful, thank you, Mayor. So we'll head on into the Norwood sewer system. An overview of the system, we have approximately 860 users. The billing model follows the same as a water model with 25% variable and 75% fixed. And again, 0% reduction in consumption is being used to determine the 2021 budget as usage has started to even out. 2021 budget for Norwood Sewer, you can see revenue impact of approximately 10,000, operating expenditures of about 32,000, capital of 22,200 for the reduction. So you can see that all balances out to zero. And again, same story as Norwood Water, fully self-funded, no impact to the taxpayer. It's all the users of the system. Areas of significant impact, tank cleaning, inspection, and repairs. So a lot of this is regular maintenance, electrical repairs at Lions Park Pumping Station. We need to replace the Allen pipe insulation and supports at the facility. We're doing some upgrades with the efficiency funding and the Belmont Street Pumping Station. Replacement of the sanitary main from County Road 40 to Marion Lane. Again, due to Norwood Park Phase 3, the developer is reconstructing Albine Street and having to run a new larger main up Albine Street. So while the street is open, we will be replacing the sanitary main. It doesn't need to be replaced for capacity, but due to the condition, it just makes sense to ensure that all infrastructure in there is being replaced at the same time. So we're not ripping up or reconstructing a new street in 5 or 10 years when it's not required. Replacement of 600 meters of sanitary main, that'll come forward in further detail to council in February. That is funded through development charges. Increase in users, a redundancy pump, and variable frequency drive for the Lions Park Pumping Station. Those are the areas of biggest impact. Here is the breakdown of capital water, or capital sewer, sorry. You can see capital projects, there's a pretty large number in there. Most of that is funded from development charges, the vast majority. Net capital costs, so you can see that the net that's actually hitting the actual rates themselves is 177,000. Debenture for Norwood Sewer for the wastewater treatment plant that was built, ongoing. You can see it does mature to 2045. We have about $1.3 million left to fund after 2021's allocations to the mortgage and the interest. Reserves for Norwood Sewer, you can see at the end of the year, we're going to be sitting at a projection. This does not include any surplus allocations for 2020 or 2021 of about 300,000. Norwood Sewer, you're seeing a variable rate reduction of about 2 cents, fixed monthly rate reduction of 64 cents per month. So again, a small reduction in this system as well. So when you put it into the average usages from 5 cubic meters up to 100 cubic meters, you're seeing anything from 74-cent reduction to $2.64 reduction for the larger users. And the majority of our residents will receive impact of both systems because the majority of users are on both. So those that are on both, from a senior that may be using 5 cubic meters a month, they're going to see a reduction of $2.88 per month, all the way up to a commercial unit that may potentially be using 100 cubic meters. They're going to see $13.33 per month. And again, on their bills, that'll be doubled because we're bi-monthly billing. Okay, any questions? I will stop sharing, Mayor, for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
There you are, Council. I see Deputy Mayor Burt's hand. Thank you.
Yeah, I do just have a quick question could be for Kyle or Candace. I am not an expert in sewer water. So the variable frequency drive pump at the Lions Park, I know this was talked about earlier and I've kind of forgotten. Is this a new system, and will it result in some hydroelectric savings for the actual operation of it? If you could just review that for me, that would be great.
Do you want to take it?
Yep. So you'll probably see a lot of savings as far as electricity use because both the pumps there are already on VFDs. They're about as efficient as they're going to get. This is more having a VFD that's there ready to go programmed and having a pump that's ready to get flopped in if one goes is more just as a redundancy, a safety measure. The flows are high enough now that in the springtime, say if you lost one pump and you had to limp along for a number of weeks on one pump, I wouldn't be getting a whole lot of sleep, put it that way. So, and the lag times on these, like if I order this pump after this meeting today, which I will be, it's almost 6 months to get a pump now. So it's not something that's just sitting on a shelf at Canadian Tire. So if we can get one on site, I think we'll be in a lot better position to handle any kind of emergencies.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we brought that up, I think 6 years ago, we thought about that. It'd be a great idea, I think, when Aqua was on board way back when, but I'm glad it's finally coming to fruition for us here.
We've been working on trying to get redundancy pumps kind of built in for the last 3 or 4 years. So we have a couple now at the wastewater plant. We have one for the pumping station. So this is kind of the next main one that we need to go ahead and pull the trigger on.
Yeah, that's a good news story for us. Any other questions from council? All right. Seeing now, I just have a comment, basically, like with the reductions in the water and the reductions in the sewer. I guess that's a direct impact of having the extra houses that have moved into the town here that to help share the load going right across the board. So, I mean, that's a good news story when you can expand that we can actually have some cost savings in some places other than in our taxes. So just a comment.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
important to note, Mayor, if you're going to mention that, to also mention that 2021 has enabled us to be able to take that growth and apply a reduction. It isn't just growth driven. It is driven by pulling out of reserves as well and planning for the last 5 years. And it's all just come to fruition in 2021. That doesn't mean or be able to project that reduction will continue into 2022 or into 2023 as we budget in years. So everything just came together in 2021, all of our planning as well as the growth, but we'll have to take a look at 2022 when it comes forward.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification on that for sure. Okay, so if nobody else has any hands up in the air, then I'm going to ask for a motion then that we accept and adopt the final 2021 Norwood Water, Norwood Sewer, and Trent. We didn't do the Trent View Estates yet. Okay, so then
No.
do you want a separate motion then for Trent View
That's
Estates?
fine. You've started it, so we can do it separately. That's okay.
Okay, so the Norwood Water, Norwood Sewer then, please. Councillor War and Deputy Mayor Burt, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So next then would be the Trent View Estates water we're going to chat about then. Please, Candace. Yep, it's coming up.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. So here we go. Overview of the system in Trent View Estates in the southern end of the township. It consists of 86 properties. We've been fortunate enough to see some growth in some of the vacant lots down there, which is a great news story. 72 homes and 14 vacant lots to go. There's a booster pumping station there that has a capacity of 1,658 cubes a day. We're using about 24 there, so there's lots of capacity. We do have standby power there now based on the generator removed from the Norwood water system out to Trent View Estates, and we replaced the one in Norwood. The water for the system is purchased from the municipality of Trent Hills from its Hastings water treatment plant. 2021 budget for Trent View Estates, you can see it's not a lot of significant impact here, about $865 in revenue that we need an increase of due to an increase of about $865 in expenses. Again, net zero, no impact to the tax base, no impact to the Norwood water users at all. It is self-funded.
Very good.
Capital for reserves for Trent View Estates, you can see that there's no proposed transfers or withdrawals for a projected year-end balance of $55,700. Again, this does not include any impact of year-end for 2020, whether that's a transfer due to surplus or reduction due to a negative balance at year-end. Rates for Trentview Estates, the variable rate as the bylaw states, and as directed by council many years ago, we do match that rate as we do purchase the water from them, and they've adopted their budget just, so that is their new rate of $1.23 per cubic meter. Monthly pipe charge, again, is a transfer of cost from Trent Hills. We're looking at a slight reduction there of about 38 cents per month, and we're seeing a slight increase of the monthly fixed rate of about 5 cents per month. So pretty minimal impact across the board, pretty much status quo. Low volume user is going to see a reduction of 21 cents a month on average in its monthly billing. A high volume user is going to see an increase of $1.07. That's it. Any questions from council, please?
Yeah, thanks for that, Candace. Council, any questions? You'll share the screen back again, I guess, Candace?
Yeah, I'm working on it, Mayor.
Thank you. There we are. Any questions at this time, council?
No.
Pretty straightforward. Okay, very good. Then we're looking for a motion then to accept and adopt the Trentview Estates water budget as presented. Motion, please. Councillor War, seconded by Councillor Walsh. All in favor? That's carried unanimous hands. Thank you very much. Good job on staff. Good job, Candace. Thank you very much. All right, R6 then, Candace, again would be, this report is regarding the management action list from council.
Yes, so council, as you can see, this list looks much different than what you've seen in the last council meeting. A lot of the 2021 has been mapped out by staff. Nothing is obviously in stone here. Things may change as the year progresses, but it's an outline as we move forward into another great year in Asphodel-Norwood. So you can see February 9th, is our next meeting. You'll see all the fourth quarter reports. The list looks fairly extensive, but majority of that's going to go on consent because they are fourth quarter reports. County signed bylaw resolution. County staff has reached out to us and asked for us to bring that back to council with a different resolution. So that'll be coming forward for you to consider. Off-site sanitary agreement. That's what we were talking about for the 600 meters of sanitary main that needs to be replaced. It was approved by the previous council and is just coming to fruition now. Temporary boring, a lot of stuff you're going to start now the budget's approved, a lot of housekeeping items that we deal with at the beginning of every single year. One of them being the temporary boring bylaw, the annual building department report, Kyle's schedule 11 and 22 reporting, all of those you see every year at this time. As well as the fourth quarter, we will be holding a public meeting for a zoning bylaw amendment, assuming all of that, all the notices are out in time. And the Centerline Road Tree Tender Award will be going out. So that's the removal of all of the trees that need to come down for the reconstruction of Centerline Road. And then any council can read. We'll be adding, after today's approval of the 2 English consents, we'll be adding the zoning bylaw amendments and the mergers to the list. It'll get added down to the 2021 list. And once we receive the paperwork from the appropriate people, then we'll be able to put a date to them once we have a bit more information.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions from council at this time? All right. Seeing none, then a motion to accept is presented. Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor Walsh. All in favor? And that's carried unanimous with hands. Thank you. Okay, next is we're moving on to correspondence for action. And Deputy Mayor, you asked for a pecuniary interest for C4. So basically at this time, I'll just ask you, you're already muted. You can just blank your screen out if you'd like. That's perfect. Okay. That should be good, right, Candace?
Yes, that is fine, Mayor.
Keep us legal, basically? Yes. Okay, thanks. All right, so C4 is concerning the Township of Cavan Monaghan regarding Bill 229, proposed changes to the Conservation Authorities Act and Planning Act. Council, what's your wishes on this? Councillor War, please.
I'd like to receive this for information. The report, please, or the.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Do I have a seconder on that? Councillor Walsh, thank you. Is there any more discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll ask for Deputy Mayor Burt to come back on board with us if she hasn't zipped out of us here somehow. There, she's coming back on board. Okay, there she is, Deputy Mayor. Thank you for coming back. All right, now we're on to C5. Eric Thibodeau, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Financial Indicators for 2019. Candace, did you want to speak about any of this? First,
I can give a brief description. I'm not going to go through. It's pretty in-depth financial analysis of the township. So I don't want to start speaking financial jargon to all of you, but to give you a high level overview, this is something that the township has been working towards for a number of years, and we have been able to move all of our risk ratings to low. We did have a few moderates back in 13, 14, 15, early into 16, and we have been able to move all of our flexibility and sustainability indicators to low risk, which basically every municipality has thresholds that the province sets that we need to, their ranges, their ratios, financial indicators that tell them how fiscally responsible or sustainable a township is, just so that they can look at and see if a municipality is really struggling. It'll be interesting to see these indicators after the pandemic, what's going to happen across the province, because they'll be looking at these, because this is going to be something to say, if there's ever a municipality that is really struggling where the province has to step in, it's not news to them. And the reason it's not news to them is because this is how they track us. And all of this information is provided to them every year in the financial information return, the FIR, which you hear me state that acronym a few times a year. That FIR is prepared and submitted to the province. They dissect that FIR and look at all of these different thresholds and indicators out of our FIR to be able to determine how fiscally responsible, how sustainable we are, what type of financial position each municipality in the province is in. All financial indicators in our profile are sitting in a positive position. There is nothing that's been flagged by the province. They would probably be here talking to you instead of me if there were. So everything is going well. Everything is going in the right position. And I'll take, if council has any specific questions about anything you've seen on any of the charts, I can do my best to try to explain them in layman's terms to you, if at all possible. But all in all, the good news story is that we're doing just fine and the province is very happy with us. So that's the main thing.
Council, Deputy Mayor Burt, I see your hand, please. Okay,
yeah,
hands
just
everywhere.
sorry, just a comment and one or two questions. Comment that, thank you for staff for all the hard work over the years, because I know it takes a lot of work to get in this position. And the one question, so do you think if municipalities find themselves in a tricky situation, do you think the government will adjust the thresholds for them? I'm just wondering about that. And then are these used when you apply for grant applications, and are those considered in your grant applications as far as successes or failures go? I'm just curious about those two things.
Okay, first off, you're welcome. And second, all thresholds are the same for every municipality. Okay. So it's a standard threshold. I think though, really, they won't be jumping to, this is my personal opinion. Obviously, I don't know what the province is going to do, but my personal opinion would be that they would keep those thresholds and those markers the same, because I don't know how else they would be able to compare. They've used them for years, and then they're going to want to see what happens to the pandemic. So they need kind of that baseline, and the baseline has been these indicators for the last number of years. Then they're going to see what the pandemic does, and then they're going to be able to see how bad the situation is. And their goal is going to be then, what do we need to give them? How do we need to assist the municipalities to get them back to their baseline where they were? So I don't foresee them changing it, because I think they would lose their baseline. And I think it'd be really hard for them to all of a sudden to start tracking where they were, because if how would you really know if we were doing better or as good as we were doing post-pandemic as we were pre-pandemic if all of those ratios changed? So that's my I think they'll leave them the same.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yep.
I also, as far as funding goes, so if you don't have your FIR submitted, but within the time frame that is obviously check mark in all funding boxes, you need to ensure that your FIR is submitted, your financial statements are done, your budgets are approved, all of those things to ensure that we're compliant to receive provincial and federal funding. And obviously financial indicators are will work for you or against you in funding applications. I don't believe that it's used in every single application process that goes out, but the large ones it is.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Okay, yes, I seen Councillor War's hand up, please.
Through you, Mayor. I was just wondering, is this an annual report?
Yes.
And if I may have a second question through you, Mayor. So it talked about funding, maybe a ratio funding for this, but what about if we needed to borrow from another borrow money? Would this also factor in, like, would we use this as a deadline if we need to borrow cash flow from some?
Yes. So
Okay.
the township's bank is the Royal Bank, and so every year we submit them our financial statements, and if we were to ever to go forward with any sort of funding request or debenture request, which I foresee, as we've discussed, debentures coming forward in the future, whether that's Infrastructure Ontario or another entity, they could be requested. And we would definitely use them as a financial indicator to prove that we are sustainable and that we are worthy of them entering into a debenture with us. So yes, they are definitely a tool, an annual tool that we can use for funding or debentures or asks or banking, any of that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Walsh, did I see your hand up at one time?
Yes, it was, but my question was answered under Lori's Deputy Mayor Bird's second question regarding its impact on funding and grant requests.
Yeah, okay, I have a comment or a question then too. So this is like a report card basically that we have to have given to the province. So looks like we're sitting around an A to an A minus as far as I can tell. That's how I used to look after it when we were like when I got my report cards anyways. Anyway, what I'm getting at then I guess is can this impact us, Candace, with having such a good report coming forward? Can it impact us later in life for having funding because we're doing too well? And the province may possibly say, oh, you guys are doing well, you can do it on your own. Have you ever heard of something like that?
We've had these discussions before. I'm going to say yes, it could have an impact, but not as a whole. So they're going to want to look at the FIR snapshot indicators, positive, they're within the thresholds, their indicators are all in a positive position. Yes, they're not going to start giving funding to an entity that doesn't have its house in order. So first off, our house has to be in order. Our house obviously is in order. Mm-hmm. Second to that is they're going to take a look at and see, are we just refusing to enter into any debenture? So we just want to stockpile all these reserves and refuse to debenture, and we just want the province to fund everything. That's really what they look at. And the FIR doesn't really tell them that story. This financial indicator report doesn't tell that full story. So it'll be part of that conversation, but it's not the entire conversation. So there has to be balance, right? There has to be balance in everything. We have to have an appropriate tax rate. So if we weren't charging an appropriate average tax rate to our municipality based on the average income in our municipality, they also look at that. They say, well, you're undertaxed. You have no debentures. You have all this money sitting in reserves and you're coming to us for money. So we have to have a balanced approach across the board. We need to have a reasonable tax rate that's fair to the taxpayers, that funds what we need to fund, as well as it's in line with provincial averages. We need to have a reserve balance that's healthy, but not exuberant. And we need to be able to have a willing spirit to enter into debenture to fund the asset needs of the township, whatever they may be at the time. And if you have that mindset and you have kind of that direction moving forward, funding applications, grant applications, and conversations with the province will come much easier. And that has been the goal of the township for the last few years. And we're there, we are there. And this is just, we just have to continue to ensure that that balance is met. And some years it's easier to achieve than others. It's a constant conversation. I just don't have it once a year when I have it with council. It's an ongoing monitoring of what's happening for the township and what's in the best interest. Every time we adopt a 5-year plan, it isn't the managers take a look at what they need on the ground, but then I have to take all those plans and take a look at it and say, is this in the best interest in the long term for this township? Can we fund this? Is this sustainable? Will this create balance? So that conversation is ongoing across the board.
Fair enough.
Yeah, thanks. That was a little bit more in depth than I thought with my question, but I'm glad I asked it. The council, just so for a heads up, this was not rehearsed. I didn't ask her this question ahead of time. This is just something that our CAO, clerk treasurer, knows, and that we're in her wheelhouse. So anyway, thank you very much on that one. Any other questions or concerns from council on this one? Seeing none, then I'm looking for a motion then to accept and support. Is that would be the right motion?
You can just accept and receive for information. Yeah.
Yep. Accept and receive.
Okay, Councillor Walsh, please, and Councillor Archer. Thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Unanimous. Thank you very much on that. All right, C6 then is the municipality of Carleton and DAC regarding insurance premiums. Council, what's your thoughts on this one? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
Receive and support.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ward, thank you. Any other discussion on this? Councillor Walsh.
Just quick question. I'm totally aligned to receive and support. I'm just wondering, in the middle of pandemic going on right now, are we better to hold off and send our support at a little bit later time? I'm not sure, as much as this is an important issue, I'm not sure how top priority this is right now with everything else going on that the government's making decisions on. I think it's certainly a subject that needs some help from the government, but I'm just not sure timing right now of sending it forward maybe makes sense or not. So I'm open to that.
Just let me ask the CAO, Candace, do you have a staff perspective on this? What's for the insurance, Candace?
Yeah, two things. I guess one, I support whatever council's wishes are.
Yes, of course.
But two, to Councillor Walsh's point, I think this is something that we should throw on the action list and probably revisit with our own correspondence again. If we want to support Charlton and DAC now, so that they've received support, because then we may be looking for them to support something from us once the pandemic is over and this conversation has been restarted. It has been mentioned a few times by the Premier in some of his press releases that he is aware of the insurance issue. It was definitely more on the front burner pre-pandemic, and we just want to make sure that it comes back to the front burner. It may get lost as of right now, lost in the pandemic conversation. I'm with Councillor Walsh on that. But I think supporting it is no harm, no foul, but it needs to that conversation needs to come back again once the province is looking at other issues.
I'm going to ask Councillor Walsh just for a second if he had anything else he wanted to add to that or take away from what the staff had to say on the subject.
No, I'm aligned. As I said, I'm fully supportive of this of the motion on the floor. I just think right now we can send it right now, which is great. But I also like the idea of having it tabled for discussion later on as well.
Okay, thank you. And Deputy Mayor Burt, you made the motion. I seen your hand there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would still like to receive and support this. We'll look at it again later. And just for the rest of council, I know it's certainly on the radar of the EOWC, the Wardens Caucus. and they're, you know, it's something that's always in their forefront and are pushing. So I think certainly since this group has been sitting around the table, it's certainly been a priority, and it has been for years before that. So I think anytime we can support something like this, it's important. But I do agree with Councillor Walsh. Let's take a look at it. Maybe when we're out of this pandemic that we're in and things calm down, hopefully a little bit towards the second or third quarters. So.
Right. Okay. So we had the motion on the floor, and basically it was just to receive and support. So we'll keep it at that, plain and simple. And I guess the CAO will put it on the action list of some sort down the road anyway. So it's we have the motion duly seconded. I'm looking for a show of hands for all in favor then. Okay. Unanimous hands, all in favor. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Councillor liaison reports. Anybody would like to speak on anything at this time? Okay, thank you very much for that. CAO clerk's treasurer's list then, please, Candace.
Yes, a couple things I'd like to bring forward to council's attention. As we chatted about in the budget presentation, Centerline Road reconstruction project is on schedule. And mail out is going out to all of those residents this week that live on Centerline Road to advise them that the plans and drawings are going to be uploaded to the municipal website for them to review and to provide comment. Obviously, we are not able to hold a PIC in person at this time, but we still need to be, as this is a funded project, we need to ensure that we're able to hit that May 1st construction start date. So we're direct mailing and speaking to each resident that lives on Centerline Road directly. And we are referring them back to the full drawings that will be on the township website. We are aware that maybe not everyone has internet and able to access the website, so they'll also have the ability to contact those on the bottom of the mail out, and I believe it's Jeff and a member of the Engage Engineering, our consulting firm, they can reach out to either party, and we will arrange something with those individuals directly to ensure that their needs are met and that their voices are heard. So that is moving forward. I do suspect that we will be releasing the tender at the end of February. It will be all the tender packages will be received in March, evaluated in March, and coming back to council for tender award, the first meeting in April. That is the timeline that we're working with right now. Just want to advise council that Peterborough Public Health has started as of January 12th at noon. So as of today at noon, they're having a new COVID call-in meeting. You can call in and listen. You can even ask to speak if you speak to Brittany at Peterborough Public Health. I did send out the email to all of you. If you want to participate, please do so. They are having a vaccine meeting. I believe it's this Friday coming up, so you can register for that as well if you'd like to hear and listen in. They have been in touch with Peterborough County as far as that task force is concerned, so they have reached out to the lower tier for a vaccination sites and what we have available in each lower tier municipality. So the conversation is happening. COVID update as far as the township is concerned moving forward. Administration at the municipal office, we obviously were closed and appointment based only at this point. That is continuing. The food bank has went back to delivery and curbside service only. So they only managed to, I think, get one delivery day, like one visit day in December where they could actually have people in through the circulation. So back out, they have had some volunteers that have decided to no longer participate just due to the pandemic and the increased exposure. But I am frequently speaking with the organizers of the food bank to keep a thumb on the pulse there to ensure that they get any resources or we communicate any needs that they may have with the public. The transfer station, we've been back to the COVID protocols have basically remained the same. We're reinforcing on social media, debit only, 3 vehicles at a time. The landfill attendant she's still down at the gates. pretty much same as status quo. We never really relaxed any of our protocols pre-lockdown, second lockdown. Public Works, although we are in winter, we do have the COVID-19 plan in place to ensure that there is sustainability of service there. Everything seems to be so far moving along nicely. That plan is working. Fortunately, we haven't had to go to plan B, C, or D, or E yet, which is good news, but we are sustaining. Community center, obviously, you know, it is closed for the duration of the lockdown. We'll have to see if that lockdown is extended and how we will be moving forward at that time. Building and planning, same, everything's electronic. We aren't conducting inspections in occupied dwellings this time, but really don't see a lot of requests for that anyway. Water and wastewater continues on a status quo. Fortunately, and I want to thank council for this, for your support. We didn't have to have the conversation and relax our COVID-19 protocols in between lockdown 1 and 2. We kind of remained status quo, just really due to logistics of our own, whether it be municipal office or staffing complement being so small. So the second lockdown hasn't really affected municipal operations to the greatest, to the extent it did the first time. Put it that way. So everything is moving forward. Jobs are getting done. Level of service is being provided. Obviously, we just have to keep an eye on what's going to happen on the community center, and I'll be reporting back to council once we kind of see what's going to happen with this lockdown. And that's a great bigger conversation to have. I do need to book a closed session meeting with council, and I am looking to do that in the month of February. So I think if we could just have council start to think about that, maybe we can chat about it in general business. And that's it for me.
All right, thanks, Candace. Well, anyways, I guess now we're on to general business. Anyone? Okay, Councillor Walsh, please.
Just, Candace, to follow up regarding the Peterborough Public Health COVID update on Friday. Actually, I'm sitting in on that webinar. I booked to sit in on it. Selfishly, because I have a father sitting in a retirement home, so I kind of want to know what's happening and also want to know what's happening for our area as well. So I will be attending that on Friday, and any learnings that come out of that I will share with the team. And I guess the second thing just came flying across my phone here a little while ago. Apparently the province has declared a state of emergency for another 28 days. So we are going to continue in lockdown, and apparently some additional restrictions this time.
Yeah, those restrictions, just to carry on, are stay-at-home order, which is effective January 14th at 12:01 midnight to January 28th. Stay-at-home order. So only essential services basically are to be out and about on the road, and they're going to vamp up their OPP in all the province.
I just got an email from Chris Galeazza wanting the CAOs to sit in on the emergency ordered enforcement for the OPP January 21st. So it's already starting, and the CAOs are starting to roll. And so I'm starting to see what's coming in. It's too bad our meeting wasn't tomorrow. I have time to digest all that and to report back on how it's going to impact us. I'm wondering if maybe we need to schedule a meeting. I need to take a look at the impact of this, and maybe we can have our closed session and just another touch-in meeting before our next one, which isn't scheduled to February 9th. That might be too far out.
Yeah.
Yep, fair enough.
We're definitely going to have to pull our socks up on this one and get ahead of the curve for sure. So, yeah. Anything else in general business? Deputy Mayor Burt, please.
A couple things. I just have a question on what Candace had just said, and then I do have something under general business. Would you be able to send information out via email versus a meeting, or how? I'm just curious about that. I guess it depends what comes out in the information.
Yeah, because I'm thinking we may need some motions. I'm thinking
Okay.
if it's extended over another 28 days, we're making some decisions on the community center.
Okay,
So,
fair enough.
Yep.
And then, given what we have just learned, this is probably not quite as important, but just for everyone's information, I will be attending the virtual Roma meeting on the 25th and 26th of January. And there's just I just wanted to let you know, and you likely received the email. It was on sent on January 6th. And there's just a couple of ministers forms. And if you have any questions, they can be submitted by Friday, and I can do that, and then they will answer your questions. So the first one is supporting vibrant rural communities and health, social services, and other things. And you, like I say, you can check your email for more information, and the ministers that will be attending that or be taking part in it. And then the second forum on the second day is rural economic resilience, infrastructure, resource development. So you could check that out. And if you have any questions on that you'd like submitted, I can certainly do that. Not saying the answers will be given, but certainly worth looking at if you would like to. So just letting you know about that. And that's it for me.
Candace, you wanted to mention something further?
Yeah, just to further what Deputy Mayor Burt is saying, any opportunity that we have to speak to or to ask a question of a minister, one thing to consider would be to start plugging rural funding. These funding streams, this government has been great in regards to releasing funding streams that address rural infrastructure, but we're in constant competition with larger centers. And as far as if you want to zone in on economic development in any center, it needs to be population-based funding. So you need to go back to having rural funding that is only for, and I mean, they have the Rural Economic Development Fund, and that's great, but the pot of money is so small. Like it's for projects, you know, like you can get 50,000, you may even get 100,000. So just whenever you get these opportunities to talk to ministers, or whether you're talking to MP Lawrence or MPP Piccini, to continue to drive home that rural Ontario needs rural-based, consistent funding, where we're not competing with these larger centers that have, just because they have transportation doesn't make their economic need any less important to them as our economic need is for us. And so it's, when you look at it per capita, it's equally as important to us. So rural-based, consistent funding for infrastructure, not just for these little projects that you can, you know, it's great that we get the courtyard funding in front of the library. That's fabulous. It's a wonderful, those little one-off streams, but something that will handle large infrastructure, that rural municipalities are in competition with other rural municipalities that are relative comparators, whether that's the 100,000 threshold, whether that's a 50,000 threshold. I'm not going to profess to have all of those details, but I do know that that is desperately needed across the board. That'll answer all of those questions that the deputy mayor just said in regards to economic and downtown resilience and all of that. It's all we need. Let us compete with ourselves and let the cream rise to the top, and let the rural municipalities that are doing what needs to get done get the funding that they deserve, instead of fighting against, whether it be the cities of Kingston and London and all these. Like, it's just, it's not always fair. It's not equitable across the board. So, sorry, soapbox.
No, that was a good rant. Deputy Mayor Burt, do you want to?
No, that's exactly why I asked the question. That's what we need to know. So would it be okay if I draft something and send that to you, Candace, to just review it, and then I'll get it out the door before Friday? Yeah. Is that okay?
That's great. I'm participating in Roma too, so that's awesome.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, great.
We can chat.
Okay, thanks.
On that note, though, I strongly suggest you send some sort of a footnote onto MPP Piccini too, that the question that's going to be asked, because then he can ask it when he's in the back room with them too, and carry on that conversation. Because the last meeting that I did have with them, he asked if anybody was having a delegation. Well, we're not having a delegation, but having an open forum question period with the minister through computer is just as good. But he should still be well informed too as to what we're after, and they may not even have thought of that. But I don't know, Candace, they're pretty good, and you've been on them pretty well too. So
I have had the conversation with MPP Piccini. He knows where I stand on it, and we've had pretty good conversations in regards to it. So I know he's on our side. It's just taking it to the next level.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep. Very good. Anyone else have anything in general business at this time then?
Can we talk about booking a meeting?
Yes, we can. So do you want to do it on a Tuesday like normal, basically, or would we looking sometime sooner? It's just, I'm only saying Tuesdays because normally Tuesdays are days that the county and everyone knows that we're already booked up for, but it's up to council. Deputy Mayor Burt, you're muted at this time.
I just have a question. Will this closed session be in person or will it be online? Just, we've been able to have successful closed meetings online with the county, so I'm just not sure what this council wishes. Just a question.
I would suggest it would have to be online.
Yeah.
As uncomfortable as that makes me, considering what the topics that we're going to be having, but what'll happen is I will send out a declaration. So you will need to confirm, or at least even verbally confirm, whatever, as the clerk, my level of comfortability is for the meeting, that you are in a room. If you are in an open area of your home, I do suggest that you go into a room, that you're able to state that you are contained and you can close a door and that you're having the closed session discussion alone, that type of thing. But I do suggest that it will have to be virtual.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's going to be only closed or whether, based on what everything that's coming down the pipe, we do need to have an open discussion in regards to the community center, because I need to obviously read the new orders and see exactly what that is. But if it's a full, if they've extended the full lockdown with all the same regs and orders in place for another 28 days, is that 28 days beyond 23rd of January? Is that 28 days from now? Like, I need to take a look at that, because if it's 28 days from the 23rd of January, we kind of know what the writing's on the wall there. So I need to just wrap my head around that. So it may just be closed. It may be open and closed, depending on if I need any motions and direction of council. The COVID task force obviously have to meet first and then come forward to council after that. So the 26th, Lori and I are in Roma. That's the only thing. And that's going to be the date of our next meeting. And that's why we're not having a meeting, because we're in Roma. So does anyone know what their calendar is like later on, like that week, like maybe the 28th of February?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, mine's clear too.
Or maybe we need to have it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it looks like
fine.
it's, Candace, it looks like it's 28, it's extending it an additional 28 days.
Yeah.
Well, looks, if that's the case, it'll be open and closed.
Yeah, and the stay home orders from the 14th to the 28th. So
No, it's actually, Roger, what I'm reading here. So as of Thursday, the government is also issuing a stay-at-home order for at least 28 days.
oh yeah.
So as of this Thursday, it's a stay-at-home order for 28 days.
Councillor Ward, you had your hand up, please.
Through you, Mayor, what's the consensus of maybe having it even next week? Would you have enough information to be able to table it, you know, between the 18th and the 22nd?
My only concern with that is the closed session. The solicitor that's dealing with one of our lawsuits wants to attend the closed session, and I don't think I can get him next week.
Okay.
But let's book 2 dates. Let's book one next week. Let's book one for the 28th. And then if he is able to attend and I can get everything together, we can call a special meeting next week. And if I can't, then we'll do it the 28th. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like I'm going to be home from a province point perspective anyway, so.
We all are.
Deputy Mayor
Candace,
Burt.
just so the 21st, we're having a special county budget meeting at 9:30. And then 22nd, I actually have a committee meeting just at 11, but it'll just be for an hour. But so Roger and I would not be able to attend the morning of the 21st.
Yeah, I'm in meetings all morning on the 21st. I have the afternoon of the 20th. And that's kind of it, unless we want to do it in the evenings. At this point, I'm pretty much solid back to back every day, except for the afternoon on the 20th, unless we want to meet at like maybe 6 o'clock at night, which may be more of a challenge to get the lawyer as well. So are we okay the 20th in the afternoon?
20th afternoon.
Councillor Ward, I see your hand.
I'm sorry, I have a conflict on the 20th. I actually have something I have to attend. So I will not be able to make that one. Unless it's later, like 6 o'clock, and I know that might be inconvenient for everyone else.
It won't be convenient for me. I just worry about getting a lawyer at that time.
Mhm.
Can we wait till the 28th?
Why don't you book the 20th and still book the 28th too? And we'll see where we're at.
Paula, can you do the morning?
I can do, it would have to be very early morning because the appointment's at noon in Whitby. I'm sorry.
No,
And
don't be sorry.
I'm booked from 10:30 till noon on the 20th. So if we went early in the morning,
I'm booked at 9 o'clock. I have a lawyer's appointment.
7 a.m.?
sure.
Be
I'm
great.
good with 7.
Won't get the lawyer at 7.
No.
Probably some of them will be canceled anyway, some of our meetings, like.
Yeah. Okay, let's,
Throw out some dates once you get looking, and we can just put what do you call those surveys out, and we can plug in.
so let's book the
Doodle surveys.
28th at 1. Let's by
Okay.
motion, a special council meeting, the 28th at 1. And then if we need to call a special meeting, obviously the procedural bylaw allows the mayor and I to do that with sufficient notice. So we'll see if we can get something together next week. If not, it can be the 28th.
Right, so we need a
Okay.
motion then, right?
I'll make a motion.
Counselor Archer, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor then for the 28th at 1?
1 o'clock.
All in favor, perfect. And it like we say at the very end when we adjourn, it's at the call of the chair anyways, after the fact if we need it, so.
Okay. Thank
Right.
you.
No, thank you for that. So anything else, in Deputy Mayor Burt, you might have had something else in general business?
Nope, that's it.
Nope, that was it, okay. Anyone else have anything in general business? Okay, seeing none. Thank you for that. We have no closed session. And then basically we're winding down. We'll ask the clerk to read off the bylaws then, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Being a bylaw to authorize execution of a preliminary development agreement between 1087086 Ontario Inc. and the Corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-01.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Burt and Councillor Walsh. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Being a bylaw to impose water service charges for users of the Norwood water system in the Township of Asphodel-Norwood be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-02.
Motion by Councillor War, seconded by Deputy Mayor Burt. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Being a bylaw to impose wastewater service charges for users of the Norwood wastewater system in the Township of Asphodel-Norwood be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-03.
Motion by Councillor Archer and Councillor Walsh. All in favor? That's been carried. Thank you.
Being a bylaw to set water service charges for users of the Trentview Estates water system in the Township of Asphodel-Norwood be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-04.
Motion by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor War. All in favor? That's carried unanimous. Thank you. And the confirming bylaw, please.
Being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood held on January 12, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time and numbered bylaw 2021-05.
Motion by Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councillor War. All in favor? And that's carried unanimous too. Thank you. You have your future meeting schedule ahead of you. I see the January 12th, the Norwood Cemetery Board will be meeting.
Yep, this
That'll be
evening.
the next one. That's important for Asphodel-Norwood. Now I'm looking for a motion then to adjourn that the meeting held on January 12th, which is today, 2021, be adjourned at 12:44 p.m. and the council to meet at our regular meeting of February what we decided on, the 9th.
January 28th, sir,
January
special meeting.
28th. Yep, special meeting at 1 PM. So I'm looking for a motion then to call for an adjournment, please. Deputy Mayor Burt, seconded by Councillor Archer. All in favor? That's been carried unanimous. Thank you very much, council, and thank you very much, staff, for all your hard work, and appreciate everything that you do for us. So.
Thank you all. Be safe.
Yep.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.